Hey, what's up, guys? I want to say thank you to the people who checked out my last video. It was not my finest work. I had just gotten released from the hospital the night before, and so some of my thoughts were a little less collected than I would have hoped for. My return window is coming up on the Opus, and am I going to keep it or not? That's what this video is about. So, I purchased this Opus with my own money. It ran about $275 from a vendor online, and I was given a 2-week return window on the product when I purchased it, and I want to tell you if it was worth it for my uses or not. So the reason I bought this was to use for silent practice mostly, as well as some recording. Unfortunately, at the moment, my computer is in the shop, and that's why we have no sound clips audio to go along with this. So this is going to be after about 2 weeks, do I still like this device? Do I think it was worth my money? Am I going to keep it or not? And some of the drawbacks that I have experienced so far. So, first off, as far as sounds go, the presets are nice starting points, but very few of them sounded great for my rig. So I went ahead and using the app was quickly able to dial in some pretty awesome tones with my 8-string, my 6-string, my bass, as well as my acoustic electric. As far as the sound quality of this device, it's really, really good. The modeling is really nice, and there are a bunch of different tones. I do wish that there were a few other preamp models available because it doesn't quite hit some of the sounds that ideally I would like to have access to, but hopefully with future firmware updates, they will correct this problem. I am still having concerns about the integrated tuner when I use any of my other tuners and tune up on my instruments and then plug into the tuner on the Opus. I do get slightly different readings, not really sure why. Maybe this is a firmware update situation as I haven't hooked it into a computer yet. The app has quite a few features, almost maddening, but once you get a handle of how to use it, it is quite simple to dial in tones and make slight adjustments. It does have a built-in noise gate, which is quite nice, although I still prefer my standalone Lichtlarm key in the gate over this noise gate. It also has an enhancer and reverb. The reverb sounds are really good for some just standard room to large cavernous crypt style reverbs. But part of the appeal for this device was, again, headphone practice with my pedals, and I prefer my current reverb selection. They just match my style a little bit more. So while there are many usable sounds there, it doesn't quite handle everything that I would use. Still having a little bit of a complaint about the lack of the effects loop. At the moment, the way I have circumvented this is by using the Jamman with headphones plugged in. This works fine, but ideally, if I was going to use this as a direct to a computer, an effects loop would have really made it a lot simpler. On for something a little weird that you're probably not going to see on every video. So if you look over here, you'll notice that the power jack doesn't actually go flush into the device. I don't know if this is just my device or if this is all of them, but not a huge fan of that. Also, if I flip this guy over, on the back, the feet are in a very weird position if you were to want to permanently attach this to a pedal board. And also, just me being nitpicky, I would say this about just about any pedal, but I wish they put the serial numbers on the inside, so if you were to attach Velcro, you don't rip off any important information. The one last thing that I really don't appreciate in every setting, and it's okay for my use right now. But if I was going to be playing live, I would wish that this had the ability to switch channels on the fly. And I know the thing is MIDI capable, but it is the only one of the devices that I commonly run that is MIDI capable. So in order to have a switching feature for channel selection, I would need to have a MIDI switcher just for this device. And that at this moment isn't a big priority, but if I were to play live and say decide to use this instead of my amplifier, I would be very much missing the ability to quickly switch between a clean or dirty channel at the whim. So if that is something that's important to you, but you are not MIDI capable, you're going to have to be probably running a couple of decent preamps, which add money to the device. Part of the appeal for this device was that it was sub $300 and provided great tones, and that is 100% true. When I start talking about adding extra switches to make it have the ability to swap channels, or extra pedals to have a distortion versus a clean channel that is usable, we're adding a lot of money, in which case we're talking about getting into Helix, or even potentially, depending on how many different effects and pedals you would need to make your setup work, maybe used Kemper, used Axe Effects prices. That being said, though, I think the device is a fantastic deal for the money. It sounds great through my amp. It has really good sounds that I can easily dial in. And despite the shortcomings of the effects loop and the channel switching, mostly, it is a device that I have decided that I am very happy with. So for now, I will be using this. I hope they continue to update the firmware. One of my continual concerns about owning a product like this is its longevity. And unless a company is willing to offer updates and continue to support the device, the longevity on something like this tends not to be good. I have several modelers from when I started playing guitar about 24 years ago that had firmware, computer software that is no longer accessible on today's computers. So any of the adjustments have to be made on screen, and there are parameters that you just cannot adjust through the device. So I hope Two Notes supports this device for a long time. If they do, it will be money well spent. If you have any concerns about picking one up and you're mostly in it for amp sounds, tone, do not hesitate. I think this device is a fantastic deal for the money. If you want channels and FX loop, and that's really more so a priority, there are other devices in a similar price range that will do those things for you, but maybe with slight compromise on the types of tones and adjustability you'll get. Thanks for checking it out, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day.